Let's begin, shall we? Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Bernard Macias. Many of you know me, some of you don't, but I am the Associate State Director for AARP on Long Island. And today we're gathered with a number of folks. They're going to all introduce themselves, but we're talking about creating age-friendly communities, right? So why don't we begin on this side? Why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Cochran with the New York State Office for the Aging. I am sitting in here today for Greg Olson, who's the director of the State Office for Aging, who got called back to Albany for another series of meetings. So I think it's a delight to be here.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Randy Shubin-Dresner, President and CEO of Island Harvest Food Bank, and I'm very much looking forward to discussing seniors in our community and how we can help them.
Good morning, everybody. I'm George Martinez. I'm Deputy Commissioner in Nassau County Department of Human Services, and I also oversee the Nassau County Office for the Aging.
Good morning. I'm Jacob Turner. I'm an attorney with Engel Berman, a developer in the area of many of the 55 and older communities that we see on Long Island.
Hi, good morning. I'm Rebecca Miller. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Services for the Aging, Project Independence, with the town of North Hempstead, and we are an Aging in Place initiative and actually a whole program.
So this is my posse, because being with AARP Long Island, I'm so happy that I'm with this group today. You know, this morning I heard a lot about millennials, which is great. We all raise your hand if you have a millennial in your life. Okay, great. I do too. But I actually have younger children that are not millennials. They're part of what we call Generation G. And when we hear so much of the developing and the focus on millennials, I'm here to sort of, and many of you might know these stats already, and you should, but when you look at the U.S. population today, we have 327 million in population. AARP recently did a study. By 2030, actually between 2030 and 2035, we're going to see a major change in the United States. We're going to actually have much older people than we are children who are 18 and younger. The percentages right now for older people 65 plus and older, is about 15%. When you look at 18 and younger, it's about 24% right now. That number is going to change. It's going to change where you're going to have, again, larger percentage of people 65 plus and older. So as we talk about building, and focusing on millennials and keeping millennials on Long Island, what are we talking about keeping an older population? Age-friendly is about livable communities, creating livable communities for all ages, right? So it doesn't matter if you're 8 years old or you're 80, you're creating livable communities for people of all ages. So that's what we're here to talk about today, but with a focus of older people. Another thing that we saw with the AARP study is that because of this major change, you're going to find, and this is 10, 15 years from now, right? So 10, 15 years from now, I'm getting closer to retirement. Well, chances are I'm not going to retire, because all of a sudden the jobs that are going to be available and that are going to be needed to be filled are going to be needed to be filled by older people, not so much younger people, older people. So we're going to see a major change in job employment for older people 65 plus and older, which means that we're not really retiring. AARP today has been going through a major rebranding. A lot of you know the acronym, AARP. What does it stand for? Go ahead. Retired people. Yeah, that RP, we're changing that, because we're finding that people aren't retiring. And it's not because they have to continue working. Many people just want to give back to their community. So I'm going to have all these wonderful people share what they're doing in creating age-friendly communities for people 50 plus and older. Okay? So why don't we start?
Hi, everybody. Again, I'm John Cochran with the State Office for Aging. And what I wanted to do is provide some context to the overall notion of what we're talking about when we talk about age-friendly, we talk about livable communities. And at a state level, the concept is being framed, and we're putting out into the communities across the state the notion about what this theme means and ultimately how it can help move the needle in the public health realm. Because what we know is that a lot of things that are happening to older adults as people age is that we know that there are things that are occurring that are creating situations which people are living in social isolation. They're experiencing an acceleration in terms of chronic illnesses and also on the mental health side as well. And so as an overall policy agenda, the governor has set up this, I'm trying to figure out here how we go here. Oh, you can? Yeah, she's going to show me something here. That we're slideshow. There you go.
Yeah, if it goes.
Really, she is a genius.
Yeah, thanks, that's great.
You go for it, right? So,
Wait 1 second.
No,
yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, we got the
yeah,
next
yeah.
slide here. So,
Perfect.
you basically, there's this vision around,
I'm done.
making the state the healthiest in the country, and basically, the thinking is like, how do we go about doing this in a reasonable way? And one of the things that has caught a lot of attention of individuals is that in order to do that, we need to basically incorporate the notion of livable communities and the notion of the premise that all state agencies have the capacity to help move the needle in the public health realm is something that's been integrated into this health across all policies approach. And basically what we're thinking about, what we're doing now is asking that all state agencies consider how policies, programs, and initiatives support achieving that goal of a more healthier state and also making New York an age-friendly state. And actually the long-term goal is ultimately to embed all of this in health policies as well as in all policies and healthy aging to all aspects of government work. So the prevention agenda is the overall theme. It's the catalyst in action for a blueprint for improving health outcomes. The vision, again, to make New York the healthiest state in the country. Principles to basically do this is to focus on social determinants of health and incorporate a health in all policies approach across systems and emphasize the notion of healthy aging across the lifespan. So when we look at this thing, one of the things that we know ultimately is that an ounce of prevention is worth, a pound of prevention is worth, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's one of the things we're trying to show you here, because in the end, what we know is that overall health is often impacted when you look at what the percentages of factors are that impact health, that individual behaviors and social and environmental factors have a tremendous impact on an individual's health that we often don't think about. And when we think about the notion of health, when we don't take that into account, we fail as government policymakers in thinking through about what strategies are available to assist in helping move the needle on a daily basis. So finally getting people to understand this reality, and the governor providing us leadership at the state level, he included in the 2017 State of the State address a whole series of directives basically to help us move the needle and basically encouraging our state agency brethren to engage in a more interactive approach to addressing these issues. And then we're using the state's prevention agenda and the health across all policies approach to really kind of move the needle. And these are all the different goals that we have as part of the health across all policies approach. But it's important to understand that this concept of community empowerment, of livable communities, is all part of a much larger picture to think through that changes in the built environment can drive changes in the overall health and well-being of individuals. And that ultimately, from a state perspective, this is an important notion that we're trying to put out there. Now, we've been engaging with AARP. I've been to this conference several times, and we are constantly talking about the progress that is being made across the state. Now, one of the things that we also talk about, and this PowerPoint is fairly extensive, and I get into systems changes that are being encouraged, also laying out how we're also looking to change the healthcare system as well. Do we have any healthcare providers here? Anybody health, hospital systems, whatnot? Yeah. So when you go through here, and I'll make this, well, this is kind of interesting when we think about this notion. How do we view older people? Well, do we all view older people as being frail, disabled, or do we think that older people are a drain, or are they valued? And basically, this is the way most older people look, is that they're active, vibrant individuals who are contributing significantly to the social and economic fabric of communities. Now, what I put out on your table is, on everyone's table there, is the demographics of the population shift that's occurring, showing that there's a greater number of older people in terms of the growth cohorts. And then also lay out for everybody, that's the slide
Oh, that-
right there.
okay.
It's
So
on
you have
everyone's table, so it's based on
there it
NASA and
is.
Suffolk County, where we lay out for both counties the amount of income that's being generated by older people. When you look at, we're not saying that older people are rich, that they have a lot of income, they don't have a lot of challenges. We know that's not the case. But when you take the collective value of what older people bring to Nassau and Suffolk County, it's in the billions of dollars, as you can see. And so part of what we're trying to get across is, one, getting people to understand the notion about the health and wellness agenda that we're leading at the state level, how it helps boil down into the local community level, where places like this, where we're having conversations about smart growth, about livable communities, about efforts that are being undertaken by everybody at this table in Nassau County. Actually, and I included a press release for you on livable community grants that we just issued, where we're looking to partner with our local government partners at the county level. And Nassau County submitted a successful application. George Martinez, who's director of the County Office for Aging in Nassau, will be talking a little bit about some of the work that he's doing. But that ultimately, this is a statewide effort. It's a multi-agency effort. And what we're seeing here today is a conversation in this workshop, but just the overall theme of this event, and I hope at one point to get a plenary shot at a plenary slot speaking to everybody, to make sure that folks understand that this is just not about economics, this is not about the notion of economic development, but that this is also about thinking about how do we counteract some of the general principles that have been used to build Long Island, to create a community that are creating health and social problems that were not foreseen. The general notion of social cohesion in a suburban community is antithetical. It does not work. It has failed. We know that suburban communities don't provide a real strong basis or nexus for encouraging social cohesion. We know that that is generating all types of problems across the state. And this is one of the things that we've been thinking about, and I know my time is now expiring, but as you think about the notion of what we're talking about today, think about it as this is a really important thing to do from a societal perspective, because we need to start thinking about what the lack of social cohesion has done. It has created dynamics that have up to this point not been foretold. We have incredibly high rates of suicide amongst older people, amongst younger people. And a lot of it is connected to a lack of social cohesion, a lack of connectiveness, that through changes in the built environment, that the community, livable community premise
That's one of our domains, is
advances,
social
yes,
cohesion,
social
and
cohesion
participation. Yeah.
will help drive that. And AARP has been a great partner. AARP and the World Health Organization has designated New York State as one of the first age-friendly states in the country. So we look
And on
forward.
Long Island, we have 5 communities, actually 6 now,
Right.
because Nassau County
Nassau
joined in.
County.
So we have both our counties, Nassau County designated age-friendly, Suffolk County, the town of Brookhaven, the town of North Hempstead, the village of Great Neck Plaza, the city of Glen Cove. I just know them off the top of my head here, but all those communities are part of our age-friendly network.
Yeah, so it's just a very interesting concept, and it's often when we talk about livable community, when we talk about smart growth, we don't think about it often as a goal and objective of not just about building better, but also about improving the overall health and wellness of society and of the residents of this community. And it's just, again, something that we wanted to make sure is integrated into the concept, it's integrated into your thinking, because anytime you're talking about economic development and you can connect the dots to an overall theme about health and wellness, sometimes it helps enhance the credibility of the conversation. It enhances the interest and actually the stakeholders that you can then pull in to engage in your conversation. Because we know often the conversation about development is very community-based. It attracts a lot of attention. It generates a lot of tension at times. And this is one way to approach it, to think about it because it pulls people together. It's a natural place to have a conversation about economic development and talking about development overall. So with that being said, I will turn it over to my next, I guess, to
Well,
Randy.
I wonder, because,
Oh, because they have the decks.
yeah,
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely, good idea.
Okay.
So, George, if you want
No
to go
problem.
next.
All right, so let me.
As they're doing this, anyone from a town
Escape.
or village sits on the town? Okay, great. Well, if you want to learn more about Age Friendly, I'll be more than happy to talk to you, to go back to your town or village or board and discuss opportunities and how to sign up and apply to be an Age Friendly designated community.
Yeah, and if anybody wants my PowerPoint, please let me know. Leave me your card, and I'm more than happy to make it available. It's an extensive deck, and it also covers the policy goals, objectives around the age-friendly health systems as well, and the work that we're doing in that space. Thanks, George.
Well, good morning, everybody. First of all, before we start, just two thank yous. I want to thank Vision Long Island and the staff for putting this whole conference together. People forget what an effort it is and what a major task it is. And also, I want to thank you guys for coming in here and sitting in this room. Sometimes, Bernard will correct me all the time. A lot of people think that old is not sexy, or senior citizens not sexy. On the contrary, it's extremely sexy and getting sexier every day. So good morning, everybody. Just I have a short presentation, and today I want to do a little bit different. I want to kind of put things in perspective as the numbers, what the real numbers are, what we're seeing today, and what we're seeing in the future. And some of the stuff that Bernard mentioned a little while ago, those time frames are actually getting shorter and shorter, and we're feeling that pressure, and we're feeling that demand much quicker than I think everybody expected. Obviously, Nassau County Office for the Aging, can I let you know what we guys do? We identify the needs and gaps in service, we develop, coordinate, and implement services, we enable citizens to live safely in their homes, but more importantly, it's the last item, we want to maximize their independence. We want to maximize their independence. Next thing is just the sheer numbers. Nassau County is rapidly becoming the oldest county in New York State. In the very near future, there's going to be more people over the age of 60 than under the age of 18 in Nassau County. And put that into perspective. What that, socially, economically, politically, what that's going to do to this county. We are going to be the oldest county in the United States. Think about that. Rather quick, the next thing is just kind of idea as to what is going on here now. And one thing that everybody kind of focuses on is not only the services that we provide as far as case management, social care, but the other thing is we're also one of the richest counties. And on an annual basis, Nassau County provides almost 600,000 meals to our citizens over the age of 60. We do about 400,000 meals delivered to people's homes, and we do about another 200,000+ at our senior centers. Nassau County runs 14 senior centers, 13 of which we partner up with people like Catholic Charities, FCA, and then one we run ourselves. So think about that. We do almost 600,000 meals every year in Nassau County. There are counties that do 40,000 a year total meals. That's what we're doing. The next thing is exactly what we're talking about. This is what Age Friendly is all about. It's 8 domains. And they include outdoor living spaces, transportation, housing, social participation, respect and social and civic participation, communication information, and community health services. In Nassau County, we are really proud that we can meet 6 of those. The 2 that we can't meet are the most obvious, transportation and housing. Which if you live in Nassau County, if you live on Long Island, what are your biggest problems? Housing and transportation. 9 out of 10 phone calls that we get into our office is issues with transportation and issues with housing. And you hear more of that the whole day going forward here. So the next 2 slides I will give my partner to the left all the credit. I actually stole his slides from another presentation. But when they're good, they're good.
We share.
We're good. I mean, he gets full credit.
it's a cut and paste world.
Exactly, absolutely,
Sure
absolutely.
is.
And part of it is, while there's a lot of dangerous and scary news, there's also a lot of positive news. The seniors are a huge economic impact in our community. They're spending money, they're buying things, they're reinvesting in their community. This just gives you an idea as to what's going on there and the total number of $1 million. I'm starving today, I don't know why. It's been a long day already. And just keep going on as far as coming. I'm trying to go fast because my thing is we want to hear from you guys and the questions. So just kind of give you ideas where we are, what's going on, and more importantly, the future is now. Everything that we've been hearing about for decades is happening now. In fact, I just met yesterday with a very large agency in Nassau County, and they're seeing a new phenomenon. People who were clients of theirs 2 and 3 years ago relocated to other states, they are now coming back. You know? So people who relocated to North Carolina, Florida, whatever, all of a sudden they are coming back, and they're coming back with a real issue. They sold their homes, they moved out of their apartment. Well, that's what we're trying to find out. The early indications are, in some cases, unfortunately, a spouse passes away. Secondly, you know, even though sometimes we argue with our families, we actually like our families, and we miss our kids, we miss our siblings, and also, you know, we're used to a certain lifestyle here on Long Island. You know, we complain a lot, but we're also spoiled. You know, we have the 20 7-Elevens, we have the 25 Dunkin' Donuts, the 2,000, Starbucks. We also, we have all those things, and when you go out to those locations, all of a sudden it's a 40-mile drive to your doctor. You know, it's a 30-mile drive to the supermarket. They don't deliver. I mean, on and on and on. So for the first time, and we're really concerned about that, because we're seeing an issue where, you know, we saw this migration, and all of a sudden it's coming back, and they're feeling it. This is a really large agency, and they really are feeling it. And it's just scary. You know, what we're seeing is, you know, that 25 to 45 is leaving. You know, that 55 to 95, we're not going to Florida anymore. We're sticking around. And that's the whole thing. So we are, you know, this is going to be a much different county. You know, once again, I'll say it again, you know, economically, socially, and politically. Think about that. Think about, you know, you're going to hear conversations pretty soon about schools closing. Conversations about the need for more transportation, on and on. You know, it's going to have we're going to be a very different place than we are today. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot of positives going on. And like Bernard said, you know, one of the things that's interesting is most of us born after 1954 may be the first generation that technically never retires. Just think about that. You know, we complain about our jobs, but somehow we like it. We don't want to be home. So we may be the first generation in the history of this country that technically never retires. I've spoken too much already, but that's kind of the other talk.
Perfect segue for Project Independence to talk about what they're doing.
Thank you. So again, my name's Rebecca Miller, and I want to also thank Vision Long Island for having us at this workshop, and also Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth, who spoke at the breakfast earlier. She's an incredible advocate for seniors, for veterans, for people with disabilities. We have a lot of programs in the town of North Hempstead that really support everybody in the town, all ages. So just a little more facts, some more numbers. This is one I think that I stole from ARP a while ago. 10,000 people a day are turning 65. The baby boomer generation. So that's from 1946 to 1964. That's an 18-year span. In 2011, the first baby boomers started turning 65. And the last baby boomers who were born in 64 will turn 65 in 2029. So it's 10,000 people a day turning 65 times 365 days. That's 3,650,000 people a year times 18 years. 65,750,000 people will have turned 65. So these people are still, you know, aging as it goes along. So it's just trying to grasp on a different way what we're looking at, what the
It's going to
country
be
is
about
looking at, right?
20% of the population.
Right. And
It's not high.
True. And then also on the other end is, for the first time, you know, we have people living actively, independently into their 90s, you know, into their hundreds. I mean, when I was a kid, it was very rare and almost exciting when you actually met somebody in their 90s. When you met or you knew somebody whose great-grandparents were 100. And today it's commonplace. I mean, I work for the town of North Hempstead, Department of Services for the Aging, and we have a lot of members in their 90s who are utilizing our fitness programs. So, but they're not all super healthy. So, I mean, we're keeping them alive. You know, some are isolated, some families are not living nearby. So there's a lot of issues that we, as a country, as people, we've never faced before. So that's the true silver tsunami. Have you all heard silver tsunami? So it's the baby boomers turning 65, the huge number, and it's also the people living, you know, super long lives with lots of services and programs that they need. So that's a lot of people.
And mixed in there is also Gen Xers. Gen Xers turned 50, the first Gen Xer turned 50 in 2015. So at ARP, we already
Right,
have
with ARP.
about 5 years worth of Gen Xers. By the time, what you're talking about in 10 years span, you're gonna have Gen Xers already
Right.
retiring. And so, and then by 2035, most of us will be in retirement. So we talk about the unretiring.
So we have the
More like it.
unretired.
So there's going to be a mix of boomers and Gen Xers in there. So.
So,
Yeah.
in the town of North Hempstead, about 12 years ago, we had one of the first neighborhood government NORCs. Is anyone familiar with NORC, N-O-R-C, Naturally Occurring Retirement Community? And basically, you became designated through NYSOPA if you could identify an area where there were 2,000 people in an area where people are 60 and over in 2 contiguous census tracts. So we located in the town, I'm going to talk really fast because I have like 20 minutes worth of stuff. We located in the town an area in northern New Hyde Park where we qualified, we got the services, we got the funding from NYSOPA, we partnered with a human service organization that became the lead agency for the NORC, and also a health system, North Shore LAJ system. So that was to provide community nursing and community social work to this area in the NORC. So, and other services as well. So from transportation to fitness classes. So this little area in northern New Hyde Park was getting these great services, and it was like booming. We had a huge percentage of the people in that area utilizing these services. So what happened? You know, the neighbor next door, who was also in his 60s, was like, why are you getting all these services and I'm not? Because in the town of North Hempstead, we're more than just 2,000 people. We're a 250,000 people, and 23% are 60 or over. So back then, a decision was made that we have to expand, we have to provide these services to the rest of the town. So we slowly started to expand, and the way that we did that is we looked at the town of North Hempstead and we created regions where we would slowly expand to. So we started, first thing we did was, we were this little area, this little north, we expanded to New Hyde Park, all of New Hyde Park. We had a satellite office, a social worker and a nurse was in that satellite office. Then we went to Great Neck, and then we went to Roslyn, and then we went to Westbury Call Place and Mineola, until the entire town was mapped out, and we slowly grew and expanded in these areas, hiring and doing RFPs and getting people in place to provide services in all the regions. So that was very, it took a while, it took about 2 to 3 years before we actually are now, and we are now town-wide. So the services we provide are community nursing, community social work. We have transportation. We have a huge transportation program. I have a brochure. They're out there. I put them out a little bit. The transportation program is something that the supervisor was talking about if you were upstairs. We have a federal grant where we are able to provide taxi service to seniors to go to medical appointments all within the town of North Hempstead, and also shopping transportation for free. So the transportation for going to your doctor, which we did a study when we were growing with Nelson Nygaard that kind of helped us, I guess, prioritize the transportation services that senior needs. And the top 2, obviously, to age in place safely, were getting to your doctor and going food shopping. So luckily, one of the things with the town of North Hempstead is we are resource rich in this town, just naturally. We have Northwell, we have Winthrop, we have St. Francis Hospital, we have all these health systems, North Shore, LAJ. So on all of those practicing doctors usually have all their offices pretty much in the area. So we, for the most part, are able to get all the town seniors who don't drive or just want to utilize the transportation program to get to their doctors, and they're all nearby. Food shopping, we have food shopping, so there's a lot, we have great partners too, and I'm going to go through that list really quickly, but the one thing I want to talk about is there's so many great services in Nassau and Suffolk County, everywhere. You look around, there's senior services, there's, you have Island Harvest, you have all these wonderful programs and services, but how do you access them? That's the trick. You can live out east and there, you have a great program in Riverdale, you have Riverhead, or you have something over here, and you hear about them, but how do you access all of them? There's really no one way. If you want to get, services in one place and services in another, you have to call, you have to research. But with the town of North Hempstead, we have a 311 call center. The 311 call center, anyone in North Hempstead could call for anything, from a pothole to registering for a program, or you want to find out about a park event. So when you call 311, an SR is created, service request, and that service request could be for any project independent service, and that comes to our office. And we're able to determine, based on that call, whether it's for health and human services or transportation or a miscellaneous question, where that person lives in the town. So if the person is in New Hyde Park, say, we know that the social worker in New Hyde Park will get that service request. And that's also a way that we track all the calls that come in. So it's one call that comes to Project Independence, and we can base where that call needs to go, who's going to help that constituent, or, you know, it's just a miscellaneous request of some kind. Transportation goes to the 311 call center. Senior calls, I need to go to the doctor, I live in Mineola, my doctor is in Great Neck, so they're trained at 311. Okay, we have assigned taxi companies that we have requests for proposals for, we have contracts with, they're subcontracted, and an email is sent to that taxi company, and the senior is picked up, and when they're through, they call that taxi company, and they then get a ride home. So we have funding for that, and yeah, so it's that. And then the one thing I do want to say is we have advisory committees. So how we established all the services and programs that we have today, I mean, there's some general ones, is that we have advisory committees that meet in every region once a month. Seniors, they're made up of the residents, and we listen to them and determine what their needs are. The needs in Great Neck, where you have apartments and buses and transportation, is very different than a senior who might live in Roslyn or Westbury, where it's more suburban. So we listen in each area, we kind of design those regions and the services for those areas, and we have incredible partnerships with a lot of agencies, and Nassau County and NYSTOFA and EAC and all the taxi companies that we have. Winthrop University, they do a fitness balance class. AARP, we're age-friendly. We were designated age-friendly. You guys also run a defensive driving class, North Shore Child and Family Guidance. We have grandparenting respite care. So there's so many programs. We work with Rebuilding Together Long Island, minor home repair, AAA. We have carpet programs when seniors are driving, as we change, and we kind of help. And it's not just for seniors. It's like kind of you're in that driver's seat and maybe your neck is not moving like it used to. How do you angle the mirror? Where should the seatbelt really be? You know, the side view mirrors, what are they used for? Some people don't use them. So we have people who are certified to do that. So seniors will come to us. We have the veterans caseworker. We have the St. Francis Mobile Health Service van, hearing vans, and they go throughout the town. And we'll use the van, and it's a huge amount of information. In here are the primary services that Project Independence does provide, social and recreational, like I was saying, fitness classes, we have health chats, and like I say, whenever I do any outreaches, all you really have to do is call 311. If you live outside of the town, you want some information, or if you reside in the town and you're at work, you just call 869-6311. But all the Project Independent services are really for people that live in the town of North Hempstead. So we are an age-friendly community, and why we're so successful is because that 311 call center really helps us to link in to the people that are calling, and because we have so much access to the city, like the supervisor was saying, we border on Queens, we have Long Island Railroad stations in every major town within North Hempstead, we have hospital systems and parks and restaurants and just everything. So it's been very successful. I mean, we're open to change. We have a lot of aging seniors in North Hempstead. Really,
We should have more Project Independences.
Yeah. So-
Thank you so much. Thank you. Randy, would you like to go next?
Sure. So, hi everybody. Thank you very much to Vision Long Island and to my colleagues speaking today. So Island Harvest is a food bank. We've been in business for close to 30 years, helping people all across Long Island. Our service area is Nassau and Suffolk County. And as the years have gone on, what we've recognized is that we could accomplish our work, and our mission is to end hunger and reduce food waste on Long Island by targeting different populations, because it's not an all-in-one need. Certainly if you're a veteran, if you're a child, if you're a senior, your needs are very different. And over the years, we've also come to recognize that we're never going to end hunger by just giving somebody a can of food. We have to do much more than that. And so we've developed a lot of programs to support the food distribution that we do. But in some cases, it's almost more important to provide some of the other services that we're providing. Interestingly, the topic of aging and elders has become personal to me. I'm reaching a little bit of senior myself, but I've 4 years ago moved my father from Florida into my house. He's 99, and now we say he's in his 100th year because he's earned it. And so it's opened my eyes to the needs of senior citizens in a different way because it's become a bit more personal for me. Plus, I'm in that sandwich generation that we used to always talk about and never really understood what it was all about. And so our programs at Island Harvest have really become very diverse. And one of the things that we have found is that our veteran population is, for us at least, for the services we're providing, we find that there are more people who are elders and seniors who are requiring our services than any other generation, and it's become kind of complicated. This holiday season, this is my 18th or 19th turkey season, as we call it, and the stories that I've heard this year are actually more impactful than what I've heard in a lot of years, and it's kind of weighed heavy on me. A week before Thanksgiving, we did a distribution to veterans at a veterans shelter. In my mind, that's an oxymoron. We should not have those two words at the same place, at the same sentence. And when I pulled up to that distribution, and by the way, it wasn't our only distribution to veterans, we had done probably a dozen of them prior to this, but there was a lineup of cars of veterans 2 blocks long, waiting to come, and we did it as a drive-through to pick up a turkey and trimmings for Thanksgiving. And the stories that we heard from the veterans were just heart-aching to hear the troubles that they're going through and the services that they're not able to access. And so there were some terms that came up. I just wanted to highlight some of them. I think that they're important to speak about. So with senior citizens, we also talk about something that's called an elder orphan. And that's kind of a scary thing. There are many, many senior citizens that are alone. They don't have family who can easily help them. Family may not be accessible to them, or they may not be close by to them to help them. And one elder gerontologist that I know very well has talked about seniors who literally are not eating because they can't get to the supermarket to buy food. And so that's where Island Harvest comes in. We set up food distributions for senior citizens a number of years ago. And now our programs are in senior living subsidized housing programs throughout Long Island, and particularly in Freeport, Glen Cove, Bayshore, Hempstead, and Central Islip. Those are just a few to name a few. We're helping well over 400 seniors every week through the programs, and what we found is that seniors can't access transportation very well, and so if they need to get to a food pantry, they can't get there. And if they actually can get to the food pantry, they can't carry a whole lot of product back home with them. It's too heavy for them, it's too cumbersome. And then once they get home, their abilities are changing, and they're not able to cook for themselves as easily as they may have been the year prior or 5 years prior. And so my team has told me recently that they're finding a lot of the seniors that were coming to our food distributions in their own senior living communities are not even able to come to get our food. And so they're coming less frequently. Part of it is because when they get our food, they're not cooking as frequently. They just can't cook. They can't stand long enough to cook. And so that's become a bit of a burden for them. And so we've worked with a lot of other organizations to create holistic services where we could support them, again, as I said before, beyond just giving them food. And so we have expanded. We do a huge SNAP outreach program. SNAP is food stamps. Last year we met with 4,000 families and individuals to see if they were eligible for SNAP. We helped 3,000 of them become enrolled in SNAP. That brought $8 million to Long Island, just in those SNAP eligible families that we helped become enrolled. $8 million to Long Island, so talk about an economic engine, because those senior citizens were able to take their SNAP dollars on their own and purchase what they want, when they need it and when they want it in their local communities. But it's much more than SNAP. What we also find is that their information and their knowledge about nutrition is lacking. Maybe they forgot about it, maybe they're just pushing it aside, they're not thinking about it. We've started a couple of very important programs under the banner of Nutrition Pathways. It started with Northwell Hospital in Valley Stream, where we have a dietitian, an Island Harvest dietitian, on site in the hospital. Patients are given a food insecurity screening. It's 2 questions. If they screen positive, they are referred to the Island Harvest dietitian, who can spend more time with them than the clinical dietitian can at their bedside. And so our dietitian spends time and makes that connection for them by understanding the connection and the importance of the food that they're eating, how it impacts the medicines that they're taking, and their actual health. The very first patient that we saw had been in and out of the hospital for well over a year because of complications with diabetes, and she herself was a senior citizen. Our dietitian met with her. Within 3 weeks, she self-reported that she was now food secure because she had a better understanding about how nutrition and food impacts her health. She no longer needed to go back and forth into the hospital, social determinants of health. So we've taken that program. Northwell is now going to work with us to go through all of their properties. We're moving to Southside Hospital within the next couple of weeks. And we've taken that program to also 2 nonprofit organizations. One is Family Service League in Suffolk County, where we're working with a specific program helping people with mental illness, and taking that same model and tying together mental illness, physical health, medication, and nutrition, and creating health plans, meal plans with them, doing cooking and nutrition demonstrations, giving them food so that they could help get started. And we're also in Family and Children's Association helping people with substance abuse problems as well. And I believe through these programs we're going to be able to create a model that could go broad spread and really make this connection and have a deeper hit with helping people who are food insecure all across Long Island.
Thank you, Brent.
Thanks.
Jacob.
Thank you. So where's everybody living? That's what I'm here to talk about. I work for the Engel Berman Group. Our partners have over 100 years combined experience in the real estate development area, and they are a preeminent real estate development group. When we talk about over 55 living, there's 3 groups we like to talk about: go-go, slow-go, and no-go. We'll talk about the first 2. Slow-go and go-go. That's what we focus on. First, slow-go. Assisted living. As many of you have seen across the island, the Bristols. That's what we are, an assisted living facility. We currently have 20 assisted living facilities in the tri-state area, with 21, 22, 23, 24, all in the works. It's an elegant place to live that stimulates our residents. And within those assisted living facilities, we have memory care wings to help our residents that suffer from Alzheimer's and dementia. we have been at the forefront of this area, of the assisted living market. Shift gears, go-go. This is our independent living type area, our 55 and over communities. We have a couple of different areas here. First, I'll draw your attention to the Seasons at Elwood. Over 246 units, multifamily housing, age restricted, 55 and older, on 30 plus acres in the town of Huntington. Within that, we'll have a clubhouse which offers a wider range of amenities, card rooms, golf simulators, gyms, pools, and it's a perfect community-based spot where people who are downsizing from their single-family dwellings can now move into one of these communities and not have to deal with all the maintenance issues anymore. In addition, going to meet a whole bunch of new people and make new friends. Now the Seasons is our for sale jobs. We offer two other types. One, for rent. We have two projects in the works right now. In Mount Sinai, Deer Park, and actually Uniondale as well, 3. And a shout out to Glenn Cervani in the crowd. He designed our Mount Sinai facilities, dwelling units, and they look great. They'll be operational early 2020. Within those, same idea as the Seasons, but they're for rent. We offer one more type as well, and that is Encore. We just opened up an Encore facility in Jericho, which is very much a hotel style of independent living, which offers a wide range of concierge style amenities. Whatever you need, we can provide it for you. Now, we've also found that it's easier to get these types of projects approved because, think about it, the school districts love them because we're not bringing in students into the school districts, so the school districts are not being overburdened. And at the same time, we're still bringing in a rather large tax base. So everybody seems to be happy with those. And also, I want to give a shout out to one more person. Helen Crossan's in the back. She's the director of Half Hollow Hills Library. And also, my mother just moved in with me, and she's taking a yoga class currently at Half Hollow Hills Library today at 2 o'clock. So the library is offering a great amount of services to all of our seniors as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I just got the 5-minute warning, which means that we have about 5 minutes to kind of gather some questions. Anyone have some questions for our panelists? This gentleman right here.
Yes, hi. My name is Ron Rowell. I used to run the Act 2 section of Newsday years ago until I went into my Act 2, which is writing about senior issues, but also increasingly multi-generational issues. And just a very quick comment. When Bernard asked me to get involved in Age Friendly, I was delighted to do so because I felt the Act 2 section was kind of a misnomer. These issues are not senior issues. They're multi-generational issues. And one of the things that is starting to drive me crazy is the idea of we need to keep our young people on Long Island. And you need to really rethink this. We need to create communities on Long Island that are attractive to young people no matter where they come from. Because if we had this notion, when I grew up on Long Island 60 years ago, we could never have sustained this island and grown depending on our children. It needed to have people coming from elsewhere. We need to also create communities that keep our older people on Long Island to the capacity that they can, and keep our middle, our child, school-age children, families on Long Island. So I think what's happening is you guys are taking on a very important, what I call paradigmatic shift from what I call technological thinking to ecological thinking, which is the way society really works. It works on relationships. We grew by specialization, but the reality is we need options for for all sorts of changing demographics on Long Island that is not supported by infrastructure built 50 years ago.
It's about social cohesion, bringing social cohesion.
Yes, and this is the way, if you look at Long Island, really, it grew up around transit-oriented development. It grew up along the train lines.
Yeah.
So it's really a kind of a back to the future motion. But it's hard for people, so you guys are going, you're changing the course of thinking, so I just want to applaud you guys.
Thank you, Ron.
And if you don't mind, thank you. It's an excellent point because, the county, the Long Island we see today cannot exist in the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to require a lot of talking, a lot of communication. I know this morning Joyce Brown from Music kind of made a joke about how all the elected officials are getting along so well. Well, they have to. They have to get along. Otherwise, it's going to be a very difficult place unless we get to get real creative and really thinking. I hate that term out of the box, but we really got to think differently than we've been in the past. Excellent point.
Up to. We have more time. And this gentleman, they have some questions here. But going back to what Ron said and a slide that you had, George, you mentioned about Nassau County aging, and there's a lot of home equity, right? I mean, you have a lot of older people that are aging in place. ARP is all about aging in place. You have a lot of home equity, which allows for some seniors to at some point say, all right, we want to go with Jacob and purchase a home or purchase, downsize, right? But what we have to start thinking is, going back to what Randy said, the sandwich generation. Gen Xers might have equity in their homes right now, but not as much as our baby boomers. And then when you add the sandwich generation of we're paying for very high education for our kids, we're not going to have the same equity. So we're not going to be able to perhaps go in this slow go mode, your go-go's. We're not going to be able to do that. That's the next generation going in. That's Gen Xers. So things to consider. This gentleman had a question. Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say that I've actually gone to one of those presentations by a community that is under construction now. And the entrance fee is $335,000 plus it's $3,000 to $5,000 a month to live there. That's assuming you have a house to sell that might be $500,000 and up. But then, if you have been a person who hasn't invested and have other sources of income, over time your healthcare needs are going to overtake your ability to pay those expensive services. And I don't see enough happening for the ones in between. For example, folks who are not homeowners or have an elderly relative who wants to be near, but the family don't have space to take them in. I was involved with Housing Help very early on the Citizens Advisory Committee, trying to improve the planning and design and workability for Matinnapot Court, that is now, after 40 years, finally gotten approval. But even the senior housing that Huntington is building, I have a friend who went into Duncan Elder housing down off Old Country Road. The stairway is so narrow, I'm not even sure you could put one of those stairways in there to help her get upstairs. She's had all kinds of health problems. Thankfully, she can still walk. Another friend out in Islandia, Townhouse Village, very nice wide stairway. She's using the stairway. Adaptation for universal design, thank you, Glenn and others. I don't hear enough about that kind of factor, that people, not only they age, they have accidents, they have strokes when they are not yet elderly. Livability, which is, I think, part of what we're talking about here.
Yes.
Age-friendly communities, people of all ages. It affects transportation, of course, but it affects everyday ability to live in any community as well.
And that's an excellent point, Matt. And a lot of things is our homes are either not built to do the adjustment, or in some cases, the cost to make the adjustment is tremendously expensive. The other thing is, pretty soon, you're going to start seeing a lot of pressure on the local level, particularly the zoning and the planning boards. Sooner or later, we're going to go back to the multi-family homes.
Yes.
You're going to go see to the mom and daughter homes, the ones that we all did away with in the 80s and 90s.
We're sort of moving back to
You're
Brooklyn.
going to see again,
Yeah.
where you're going to see, the Belmores, the Merricks, where you're going to see, if they are building anything, they're going to build a 3-family house, a 2-family house, with those built-in issues.
It's important to realize also, as part of the conversation, that at a very, in a very systemic, at a systemic level, the focus of that conversation when we talk about universal design principles in the building and taking into account zoning and the regulations at the local level, the Department of State has been very active in this conversation. So again, it's just another example of how this stuff is boiling down and being relayed to local county governments and local town governments. That type of an approach, that the universal design principles, that the concept of shared housing, the concept of changing family structures is something that is really kind of starting to make its way into
They might change the time again, I don't know. This gentleman had a question.
So it's pretty obvious that transportation is a barrier or a hurdle that must be overcome. Is there any evidence that you've seen that seniors are making use of these emerging services like ride-hailing, Lyft, and so forth?
Yeah, yes and no. A lot of them are, funny you said that. I mean, a lot of it is the technology.
Right.
Some of them just don't, don't want to use the. First of all, sometimes they can't afford an iPhone. An iPhone is going to cost you, $600-700. It's going to cost you $100+ a month for the internet. So either they don't have technology or they're just not comfortable. There are some businesses coming up now where for a fee, the sibling or a child daughter can sign them up, whereby I can call up and call a service and say, my mom needs to pick up tomorrow, and then we'll do that kind of stuff. But that is still surprisingly, it has kind of skipped that generation. It's nowhere near where I thought we'd be, and that's why with the Project Independence is a big help.
Well, one of the things, one of our taxi companies went technology savvy, so they're very similar now to how Lyft or Uber operate. But we've been able to kind of modify the way that we receive the reservation and send it to them. So instead of sending them an email, we have to put together a grid and an Excel sheet that they're able to adapt to their system. So, I mean, it is happening because a lot of the taxi companies have to become like Uber or Lyft, or they're gonna,
Right now,
use their business.
we're about 3 years behind right now.
And
This
just-
is okay. Sorry.
Just a quick comment also. One, I have a colleague whose mother during the day continually reaches out to him to call the Uber for her because she can't handle the technology. But the bus services by the counties are also, it's complicated. It's good that they're there. It's expensive, and they have to have a 2-hour window, I think it is, on either end. And it's, again, senior citizens can't sit for that long.
AARP nationally has been trying to working with Lyft and trying to figure out a way to partner and figure those problems out. Another thing that we did do nationally was if you were a semi-retiree, you had opportunities to sign up through with AARP. So we were doing that program nationally as well. This gentleman here had a question.
Comment. A book that got all of us in the planning world last year was Arthur Nelson's Reshaping Metropolitan America, which has a huge amount of information just about how household composition, sizes, all that is changing. Just the sheer volume of 1 or 2 person households every year. Never seen that before. And then another plug for all the AARP local communities guides. Basically everything from housing choice, transportation stuff, walkability. It's great, and if you implement those policies, you also make communities great for people that are 30, 25, 20,
Great.
50.
Always better.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I'll stick around and talk more about age friendly and if you want to sign up and how to sign up. More questions. We still have more time here.
I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I understand the challenges that we face on the technology front, but we need to make sure that we also understand the penetration of technology into the aging universe. And AARP and others, 50% of older people are utilizing the internet. They are using smartphone technology. So it is something that is happening. There is a great deal of activity that's occurring as a result of family interaction, where families are working. My mother texts. Who the hell ever thought at 83 that she'd be texting me? She's been texting me since I've been sitting here. It happens more than you could possibly imagine. So I think the concept of Uber and Lyft and share riding is something that we need to work more on. I know that there are some counties in upstate New York where county government have taken a very, very strong and active interest in the concept of ride sharing to help address the problems that older people are facing in terms of accessing transportation. It's been fascinating to watch it unfold. But we need to, I think, we shouldn't, I think I think there's a great deal more activity happening on the aging, within the aging cohort regarding uses of technology than, you know, we're assuming. I mean, we see a lot of people who don't, but we also know that there's a lot of activity.
We have another question, guys.
Just a quick comment.
Okay.
I'm Jack Zeus from Nice Bus. I happen to run the Age Ride program in Nassau County. We provide 1,500 rides a day. The window is 15 minutes on each side of the window.
Forgive me then.
Now,
I have some-
customer satisfaction is 96%. On-time performance is 85%. So we encourage our seniors, obviously, to take Able Ride. It's an inexpensive way to connect up with services that you need, inclusive of helping them on the vehicle with groceries or food. So we're around. Does the system, thank you, as we continue to grow further, technology is currently part of our infrastructure, but we also have the phone line. They can always call us. We can book the trip for them via their app, but we can also do other things that will help them get to where they need to go. The concern here for the county is twofold. With this kind of growth, the system needs to be expanded. There needs to be more capital, there needs to be more operating. And that's a real concern as we go forward. That hasn't been really planned into the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 15-year plan. Currently, the facility is at its max. We have 110 vehicles covering 285 square miles. So those are concerns also. Lastly, I'm going to throw this out really quickly. I'm from Los Angeles. I have family in Los Angeles. What they have done with granny flats and higher density housing has helped the elderly and has helped the young. And that's a policy we have to look at for Nassau County and Suffolk. In order to keep our young people here, in order to keep our old people in their homes, and it's a great way. It's boomed in LA, and it's taking it over to Seattle and other areas too. So it's another area for us to look at.
Thank you, thank you. We're wrapping up, folks. Thank you so much for all of you participating, our panelists. Thank you.